Okay, today I'm going to be making some drinks on the Lob Pavoni Europiccola and on the Flair 58. I'll basically be kind of talking about, well, what is it like to use these types of machines, because they're similar but different, and we're doing a fun POV style video because that's just you're gonna see how I make these drinks, which is a little bit different than the normal talking head. And I'll do a talking head video going over the 58 versus the Europiccola, and really what I'll be talking about is something like the 58X in a dedicated 58X video in the near future. But I think just making some drinks on these machines will be pretty representative of, well, what is it like to actually use both of these machines. Before I start, I'll tell you about what I have on the cart today, what we're going to be doing. And I have the, I obviously have the Lob Pavoni Europiccola here. This is a post-millennium model. It is still sort of in the heat up process. I haven't run any water through here, so our group head temperature is still a little bit low. I'd like to get it up to around that 85-90 degrees Celsius mark, especially because we're going to be pulling a lighter roast from Vibrant today. This is Flourish, and with the lighter roast and the post-millennium models, you really want to get this as hot as possible. Whereas on the 58 here, and obviously I'll talk about some differences between the two and what I have observed so far. On the 58 here, I have this guy set up to the maximum three light heat up, so this is actually gonna be perfect for light roasts. And then obviously we have the Ditting 804 Lab Sweet here as our grinder of choice. I'm gonna probably make a cappuccino of some sort on the Europiccola because the 58 doesn't have a steam wand, whereas on the 58 I'm gonna be making a 1 to 3. I'm gonna aim for 54 grams out. I'm gonna put 18 in, get 54 grams out. You can pull a solid 1 to 3 and more with the 58 because you can fit about 90 milliliters in here, whereas on the Europiccola here, you're going to have a bad time trying to pull long if you want to keep with the 14-gram dose. Let's do the Europiccola here. And I think I should flush some water through the group head to really make sure the machine is heated up. At an initial glance, I'm pretty sure you can see some differences between the Europiccola and the 58 here. So the initial glance is that with water, you pull up on the lever to actually introduce water on this style of manual lever machines. And obviously, the biggest difference between the 58 and Europiccola is the fact that there is a steam boiler basically strapped to this lever assembly. No steam boiler here. Our boiler is a kettle here. And the differences that I want to highlight is the feel of pulling up on the levers. There really isn't a feeling here on the 58. If I pull up on the lever, the only stuff you feel with this guy is the little gasket from the pressure gauge go up. This is really just a lever like that. That doesn't really, it's not really connected to anything until you, well, connect it to stuff. So for me, the experience of a lever machine is really down to how does it feel to pull up. Like I pull up or pull down, I love the feeling of the Europiccola where you can actually feel that boiling water from the boiler rush into your puck. And it feels good to actually pull up on the lever and pull down. You feel the actual mechanics of it. You don't really feel that with the 58. So if you were looking for that more tactile feeling, it's a little bit different. Pulling down on both of them, it's much easier to pull down on the 58 simply because I think it's the larger lever, you get more leverage. The other thing too is temperature stability, right? Like temperature stability of the 58 is much stronger because of the preheating chamber. That is basically gonna keep this guy at whatever we want it to keep it at. So there are different temperatures at the low, medium, high setting of the 58. Europiccola here, and definitely on the pre-millennium Europiccolas, temperature is a sort of hit or miss. I had to basically flush some water through here just to ensure that our group head here, I don't know if you can see this, our group head is around that 85-90 degrees Celsius. So the temperature stability of the 58 is much stronger in my opinion than the Europiccola here. So yeah, I'm just gonna aim for some 15-ish grams in on the Europiccola here. Gonna pull a cappuccino style drink, or we're gonna make something like that, and should be pretty fun. So using the Lab Sweet as I mentioned before, and I'll just might as well weigh the portafilter, and I put in 15 grams to compensate for the wonderful retention in this thing. Okay, because I do not RDT right now. So 14.7 should be pretty fine for all of this. And for those of you who have been paying attention to actually what I have here, you'll notice I have the People's WDT tool, a little stand for it. And something special I want to showcase to you lever heads is actually the, I'm going to give this a little slam, give this another upper puck rake like so. What I want to showcase to you lever heads is this tamper. So this is the Lob Tamper by Jason Lob, or lob.coffee. So this is basically one of the highest end 51 millimeter, or this is like 51 point something millimeter tampers. It is incredibly heavy. Pretty sure I could tamp it just by letting it go. Look at that. That is a very heavy tamper. Give it just a brief push, slight polish, and look at that. But I absolutely love this thing, especially when I'm using this IMS Precision basket. It really ensures that there's no retained coffee around the edges. It's perfect every time. Okay, so our group head is now in that 85, 90-ish land. Should be perfectly fine. Another thing I want to note is the actual space that we have for cups. 58 has much more space, and then obviously the 58 uses a 58 millimeter portafilter. The Europiccolas use 49 or 51 millimeter portafilters. So let me begin pulling here. So I can feel the resistance of the lever here this entire time, and I can feel the water rush in to the portafilter. So I can feel that. And now I'm gonna let this pre-infuse for, I'll give it a little few seconds here. And I am now going to push down. So I really feel the mechanics or the lever assembly here do, like I feel the entire thing as I pull down. And I'm really trying to get this thing as hot as possible. Aim for 28 grams. Okay, so looks good. That looks like a nice smell. Oh, that smells really good. Nice. That is a standard 1 to 2 out of a Europiccola. The one notorious thing with Europiccolas is probably the steaming performance. It's not as strong as it could be, to be honest, but should be okay for whatever I'm trying to do. And I've also swapped this over, or when I bought it, this has a single hole steam wand. I just think it's much easier for whatever the style of steaming I like. So I like single hole steaming, especially on something like the Decent here, or Decent behind me. So there really isn't on this machine, at least probably due to the angle of pitcher here. I really never can get it to give like a hard whipping noise that you would find with something like the Decent or even my Gaggia, but the overall steaming strength is very strong, and this is already getting really up to temperature. I'm gonna cut the steam now. I also think Europiccolas are a little, definitely stronger when it comes to making something like a thicker cappuccino style foam. And our steam is kind of dying there because we just steamed a lot. This is a pretty small boiler. I'm now going to try to pour some latte art for you guys. So moving my little tampers out of the way. So as you can see, like that's pretty good. Definitely thicker foam. I think it should be fine for a latte, and obviously I'm slamming the bubbles out here. Yeah, I mean, that looks fine. And then this here. So I usually this never goes as I intend it to, but I haven't really poured latte art that often recently, but let's see if I can do something okay. All right, this is sort of okay. All right, you know what? My hands were a little shaky, so that was okay. But tastes good. This is one of these more lighter roast coffees for so it sort of cuts through the milk. That's probably due to the lab sweet burrs here, and then I'm kind of getting caffeinated because I already had some coffee today, but Not bad. All right, now let me make a drink that you cannot make on the Europiccola. And that is a long ratio 1-to-3 drink. We have a pressure gauge here. I don't have a pressure gauge on my Europiccola, unfortunately. But I'm gonna put in 18 grams there. And this is more, I guess, angled portafilter. Something I forgot to mention was the actual heat or the portafilter. So while the preheating unit does a pretty good job, I find that I have to leave the portafilter in the preheating unit for a fairly long time for the actual portafilter to become warm. Whereas on the Europiccola and even my Decent, for example, the portafilters get much hotter, but in a shorter period of time, but that's probably not that big of a deal. A little more. Okay. All right, so that is a little bit on the large side, on the bigger side, 18.5 grams. But it should be all right. So I'm going to take my WD-T tool, and you're kind of seeing I am running out of precious space on my tiny little cart. And that is a cart, this is a cart that I said I was going to replace, but other things happened and I ended up keeping it. So, okay. Give this a nice little distribution on the top, or a little leveling on the top. Okay. Okay. And of course, the Decent tamper actually sticks. This is the version 3, so this is what I do. Not gonna redo this because I'm trying to make this, you know, this is the real world here, guys. Although, to be fair, I don't really think that's going to make that big of a difference. Especially because I'm using a 58 screen here. And what I do is I lock this in, so the portafilter's still nice and warm. And I'm gonna be using my friend Nick's. He made me a custom cup. Super awesome guy. He made me a nice custom cup. I showcased this in my original Europiccola video. And, you know, the steam from the Europiccola, like, that's still pretty good. The latte art is still staying. But anyway, maybe I'll pull this machine up just a little forward so you guys can see it a little bit better here. And how you use the 58, if you do not know, is there's a locking mechanism. This top part still becomes fairly hot because of the preheating unit. What I'll do is I'll take the pressure gauge off like so. That's really hot, by the way. And then the kettle is set to boiling. I want this to be as hot as possible. And I'm going to fill the chamber up as much as I can, just so I can pull out the whole entire 54, or maybe even target slightly higher ratios here. But I'm going to aim for a standard 54 or 1-to-3 shot. And I'm just even putting the water where it goes up like that is all right with this machine. And what I'll do is make sure this is tared. As you see, I have much more space than before. And now I'm gonna begin timing. I'm going to, okay. Might be a little hard to see, but I am actually ramping up to about 6-ish bars here. I'm pulling, I think, yeah, 6, 7, 8, or 6 to 8-ish bars. I'm keeping it in that range. And the puck is degrading now, so the pressure is now declining. And that's the natural degradation of the puck. And there we go. Wow, that looks good. So these are 2 really nice looking drinks here. So I have a cappuccino I made using the Europiccola and a 1-to-3. Look at that 1-to-3 from the 58 here. It's got nice amounts of crema, and obviously I'm going to try it. I'm gonna probably get a little shaky from all this caffeine here, but smells good. This is a more lighter roast, so hopefully this does not taste like straight acid, but visually looks nice. Wow, that's really good. So I don't exactly know what fruit notes are in here, but I'm getting a lot of berries. And then maybe more of that floral aftertaste, but actually I'm getting that floral smell. But good stuff from both. I do think in milk, this actually, I think, does really well in milk. But straight, I think a lot of you guys would like this particular coffee. But anyway, that is making drinks on the, I made a single drink on the 58 and a drink on the Europiccola here. I guess one other thing is the way the portafilters lock. So you'll see the portafilters lock different directions. And of course, because these are both levers, this is going to be nice and dry. Although there might be excess water here because I put in a lot of water. No, that looks dry. All right, cool. Actually, before I end the video entirely, so the differences that I wanted to mention is how the machine actually turns on. So obviously there is a switch here, and once you turn this machine on, you kind of just have to leave it be. Because if I try to open this cap here, I'm gonna have a bad time because there's just boiling water in here that's been building steam. So if you're trying to make multiple drinks, you're gonna wanna make sure that the water is as high as possible or filled up as much as possible. The preheating time of this machine is actually much longer than heating up at least this kettle, by the way, good kettle, because I work for them, and then the 58 unit. So the heat up time of this is much longer than these two combined. The other thing I want to note is the adjustability and temperature. So you can sort of flush water through here and try to just really keep this thing nice and hot. I don't really think this matters too much for most people, like unless you're drinking lighter roasts. Like this might be fringing on like some of the harder stuff to pull on the Europiccola here. But otherwise, you know, you turn it on and you leave it there, and it is sort of temperature stable, but it is not as temperature stable as the 58 here. This little preheating unit does a fantastic job. And of course, there is a bigger brick there, and in order for you to adjust this, obviously, you have buttons. So you press the buttons to adjust the different preheating temperatures. It'll beep when it's completed, or it's got to the temperature, and to turn it off, you press and hold. So I'll turn it off. See, I turned it off, and that's kind of it, because I flushed the boiling water from the kettle through the machine. Whereas here, if I turn this off, I don't want to touch anything here. This is kind of hot. There's still heated water in here. Don't open this. Don't, touch the machine. On the 58, you kind of can just, the only thing that gets hot is this thing. So there's no risk of burning yourself as much, I feel like. But anyway, just wanted to add that in, and I figured if it's going to work closer to the end of the video, you're probably going to watch this part anyway. And yeah, but I'll be doing, that more talking head style video. And yeah, thank you again for watching the video. Well, thank you for spending the time to watch me make some drinks. I made a 1-to-3 longer ratio light espresso on the 58, and I made a cappuccino on the Europiccola. And that's it. Thank you again, and I'll be making a more dedicated video talking about these two machines, comparing them, different styles, different generations, as well as talk about the Flair 58X. If you have any questions or maybe some requests for the 58 versus Europiccola video, or even 58 and 58X video, please feel free to let me know. And thank you again for spending time to watch the video. Feel free to subscribe, follow me on Instagram, all of that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next video.